Hey, you're listening to Ty Bollinger of CancerTruth.net. You're also listening to Justin and Kate with Extreme Health Radio. These guys are great. Enjoy listening to them. I always do.
Welcome to Extreme Health Radio. Extreme Health Radio.
Where natural solutions to almost every health condition are out there. Join us on our journey to find them.
Now here are your hosts,
Broadcasting from sunny Southern California around the world.
Justin and Kate Stellman. Why are you looking at me like that? I'll do the intro. This is another episode of Extreme Health Radio. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful day from sunny Southern California. Do I sound like you?
That was great. You did really well.
For reference, today is June 20th, Thursday. I'm acting like you right now, right?
2013.
This is episode 117.
116.
Oh, darn.
You're off by
Okay,
one.
shoot. Okay, you can take over. I failed. Go for it.
No, this is episode number 116. If you're desiring to check out the show page with Adam Bergstrom here, you can check out extremehealthradio.com/116. And on that show page, you'll be able to find all of the show notes and websites, reference materials, books, anything that Adam mentions, you'll be able to check out on that page. So feel free to do that. And the sun is barely coming out. It's trying to peek through the clouds here.
I am such a happy camper when that happens. It changes my whole...
It changes your mood, doesn't it?
Changes the feel of the day. Yeah, my mood. Because usually I'm a raging, bitter person. Just kidding.
You're a horrible person to be around, and then the sun comes out and everything changes.
And I turn so happy.
But yeah, it's a great day here in Southern California. Hopefully you're having a great day wherever you are in the world listening to this. And if you'd like to join the show, feel free to do that. We'd love to have you join. You can email me, Justin at extremehealthradio.com, or
Kate, Kate, at extremehealthradio.com.
And you can also send a voicemail right from your computer, which is great. You don't even need a phone or anything like that. You're straight from your computer. If you go to extremehealthradio.com/voicemail, you'll be able to record that, and that would be another way to ask a question. And let's see. Oh, if you'd like to support our work and you purchase from Amazon frequently, we'd love to have you go through our link, extremehealthradio.com/Amazon. And that would be a great way to support our work. And you don't have to buy anything health related. You can just purchase anything you like, and that would be a great way to support us. And looking at our upcoming show schedule, Kate, we have lots of great guests coming up.
I know.
Evan Folds from vortexbrewer.com.
Right.
And he is really, really knowledgeable about the vortexing water and the whole implosion technology and using those minerals on your garden and creating the best soils ever. And then we have Sydney Ross Singer from killerculture.com, and he'll be talking about bras and breast cancer and toxic chemicals in clothing, like the dyes they use.
Yeah, that's going to be eye-opening.
So we'll pretty much be walking around naked after that show. And then we've got Dr. Edward Kondrat from healingtheeye.com, and he's a prolific guy. I think he's out of Florida. He's doing a lot of natural eye treatments, like with glaucoma and macular degeneration and things like that. So that'll be a great show. And today we have our monthly guest, Adam Bergstrom, and he is the author of Yes, No, Maybe, Chronobiotic Nutrition. And he's written, I think, 19 or other ebooks that he's got on his website, solarman111.com. And just really a prolific guy and just an avid researcher into health matters. And he's joining us today. So thanks, Adam, for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me, Justin and Kate.
Are you still up in Carpinteria, or are you down south?
I'm in Montecito, which is a suburb, basically, of Santa Barbara.
That's right, yes.
You always forget that.
I always forget. I still think Carpinteria for some reason.
Well, I lived there for 2 decades, pretty much 2 decades, and managed a health food store there back in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
You weren't that far off then.
I wasn't that far off. And sometimes you go down to La Jolla, is that right?
I sure do. Haven't been down there for a while, but I've stayed there as much as 9 or 10 months with a dear friend of mine.
Wow. And so do you just kind of visit the cove there and go in the water? It's beautiful down there, isn't it? I
sure do. In fact, my friend's house is right at the beach, so it's been real nice.
Oh, wow.
They're in a place called Bird Rock, which is the part of La Jolla, pretty close to Pacific Beach, for those of your listeners who know the area.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's some really great snorkeling down there. It's really beautiful.
There are, definitely. A lot of surfers there, too.
A lot of surfers. Did you ever
and
surf?
Kayakers.
Oh, and
no,
kayakers.
I didn't learn to even body surf till the 80s. I was a little slow.
Oh, wow.
I was a valley boy in the San Fernando Valley where I went to high school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. It just depends on where you grow up, what you're into, you know?
Yeah,
but
what you're interested in.
You got into it. That's all that matters. The ocean's just a beautiful
I did get
thing.
into some body surfing anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah, are you, they just, I don't know if you've heard, but down south here, they just shut down the San Onofre power plant. Have you heard about that?
Yes, and I'm celebrating it.
Really?
Yes, nuclear power basically is run by experts, and it's guaranteed to be worked with experts for like thousands of years because plutonium has actually longer. Uranium has a half-life of billions of years, and so it's perfect. We have experts for life. While solar power, anybody can get off the grid, and it's a democratic form of power.
Yeah, they just shut that down, I think, last week. And what do you mean by half-life? I've heard that term since high school, and I should know what that means, but what does that actually mean?
Well, if you take a pound of uranium, within 4.5 billion years, you'll have a half pound radioactively still left. And then in another 4.5 billion years, you'll have another quarter pound left, and an eighth pound in another 4.5 billion years. So it's a long-term element.
Oh, I see.
And it would be much better if we just leave it in the ground where it actually helps break down soil and it's beneficial. But once we take it up into the air, it gets up in the atmosphere and rains down on us on an ongoing basis.
How far do you think that power plant has its reach in terms of the toxic effects that come from it?
Well, it depends on the particles. Now, if beta particles get loose, like in depleted uranium, the alpha particle is supposed to be the least dangerous. And you'll hear them say, well, it can't even, your shirt can stop an alpha particle. But here's the catch. If you breathe it in, the little alpha particle will stay in you forever and be like a little nuclear plant inside your body. The gamma, which is supposed to be the most dangerous, and the beta, they will just do their damage, and that's all there is. There's no particle there. There's no little transmitting station in your body to cause radioactive damage. In fact, you get gamma radiation when you ride in an airplane.
Wow. Golly. So them shutting this power plant down probably has a lasting and reaching effect on the whole West Coast, right?
Yes, it's really a good thing. And by the way, we've had the ability to use solar power since the 50s. They're lying about the technology. You know, years ago, I belonged to an astronomical society back in 1951 as a junior high school student. And an expert told us we wouldn't have a satellite in space for 50,000 years, and we would be on the moon in 100,000 years. Well, 8 years later, Sputnik was up, and a few years later, we were on the moon. So that's why I'm very distrustful of experts telling us we can't do something when solar power is a very easy technology.
Yeah, you know, I was talking with a friend of mine recently about that, and I was just postulating about how the Southern California Edison might be able to get into the solar panel marketplace or whatnot. And what if we had, solar panels that perhaps came from the same company that people could install on their roofs, or, in the same way that they distribute the power now? It seems like it would create a lot of new jobs, and, it would be great for everybody.
Exactly how it's done in Wisconsin. They put a couple of nuclear plants up in Wisconsin, and then they said, we have to have this third one. And the people rebelled. And they said, well, you won't have any power if you do this. Well, everybody rebelled, and now there's solar power all over Wisconsin. Now get this. This is a state up in snow country. They don't get that much sun. If they can run their state largely on solar power. Imagine Arizona, California, New Mexico, Texas, and the entire South, Florida.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're giving us a big lie on that because solar power is non-toxic, and what they don't like about it is you can get off the grid. The people that get off, they encourage them to sell the power back to the grid. Well, the best thing is just get completely separate from the grid and live a sovereign life.
I love that idea. So personal responsibility takes precedence, doesn't it?
You bet. And that's what they don't like about solar power. Even wind power is more difficult and technological, kills a bunch of birds, does things. Now, they do have a type of wind power that's more like a washing machine agitator that doesn't kill birds. So those can be used for personal houses, and you can get off the grid that way. But solar power, the energy's all around us. Even a lot of times, if you're in your house or wherever you're at, if you leave the windows closed, your room will warm up. You have to open up the doors or the windows to let the air circulate.
Golly, it's so much more. I think there's so much more than we know about. And I wonder, living near this thing, I wonder if, in the same way, one of the things we wanted to talk about on the show was how our words can change our biology. And I was wondering, if there are physiological changes that happen in our body as a result of living close to one of these things.
There are, but fortunately, atomic power is the fourth chakra, but the word is the fifth chakra. So our words can actually overcome atomic power. Now, that's a difficult task, and a person must probably be a fifth level master, which means they are a master of the word or sonics or the audible life stream. It comes by many names.
Wow. So mastering the word. And so when you speak about yourself, I've heard you say that you talk about yourself as being a certain amount of revolutions around the sun, right?
Yes. If you say you're so many years of age, or even so many years young, you break your cells down because you're working on a linear line like a conveyor belt. So when we say we're so many years old, it's like a table that you imagine a conveyor belt going over the edge, and then you're dumped over the edge of the table. Well, when you say revolutions around the sun, you're in a circle, and it's like saying my car has 3,000 revolutions per minute. Well, it would be better if your car has 5,000 revolutions per minute because it goes faster.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So then you're getting better, not older. Now, age is really good for cheese and wine, but it doesn't do much for human beings.
Not so good. So do you think there's a difference between saying something like that and how your audible words that get spoken out into the air? Do you think there's a difference between that and thinking?
Let's take the question that you posed, how words change our biology. Let's take the word biology. Bio is the beginning of it. Now, what is bio but O2 or oxygen? And what is LOGY but logos or the word? So what life is and biology is the word resonating in oxygen, and that gives us life. Wow. The word is what makes the oxygen resonate and gives us the life force. That's called prana, metaphysically, but physiologically, it's the audible life stream or the word or logos resonating in our oxygen.
That's interesting.
And oxygen is our consciousness, by the way. If you cut off your oxygen and hold your nose, you're not going to be around very long.
Recently we had a guest on, Dr. Leonard Caldwell, and he was really interesting. One of the things I remember from that interview was that he was saying that when you breathe in, you don't breathe oxygen, or maybe he was saying the oxygen doesn't really get released into the body until you exhale.
Right.
Is that, have you heard that?
That's absolutely true. It's called the Buteyko method. The problem with the Buteyko method is when you hold your breath back unnaturally like that, you get more traumatized, because as people have already figured out, psychologists and physiologists and psychiatrists, that when you're under traumatic stress, you hold your breath. And what is necessary for a healthy person is that the out-breath matches the in-breath. So when I breathe in so much oxygen, if I hold my breath, I accumulate the carbon dioxide, and I get sick eventually and break down.
Okay, so the length of your exhale should equal be balanced with the length of your inhale. Is that right?
And that's called homeostasis. Most people don't. Now, if you get too much oxygen, you break yourself down. Oxygen paradox is where too much oxygen will break you down. That's being over alkaline, by the way. People get mixed up about acidity and alkalinity. Acidity is over acidity is too little oxygen, and alkalinity is too much oxygen.
Wow, interesting.
So it's a double-edged sword, which can be, we need it to be alive, but if we get too much of it, we die, and if we get too little of it, we die.
Wow. So now with our words and biology and getting back to that, how do you think that happens? Do you think that there's an energetic resonance that happens when we say words, or does it actually happen inside of our bodies and our cells respond to what we say and think?
It's a combination of both. One is the word and the intent of the word, and two is the actual resonance and the pronunciation of it. So that's why they say if you mispronounce certain mantras, you can destroy the entire universe. And that's probably true.
Wow.
Resonance, just like a singer can break a glass. When I studied with Swami Nitty Gritty, he said there's people who can put that glass together with their voice, not just break it. But it's well known that Caruso and other singers could break glass with their voice. That's, in fact, they have sonic weapons like that, where the sound waves will break you apart. The government is even using that, by the way, right now to impinge on people's cells and give them various diseases when they rally at the protest marches.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, we've heard that. I've heard that over the years, but I've never heard that about the rallying at different marches and things.
Yes, they will do that. You'll see sometimes they have this thing that looks like a radar unit that's at the crowds, and that's what they're doing.
Wow. So I wonder if any of that was going on with this whole March Against Monsanto thing. And
could be. I wouldn't be surprised. It's good to look at what type of instruments they're pointing at the crowd. And it would look something like a microphone, like they were listening on you. And actually, it would be going in the opposite direction. The sound would be not coming into what looks like a microphone. It would be emitted from the microphone.
Wow. So these sounds are, I guess, destructive frequencies that they're putting out into the crowd?
Just like the sound of Caruso's voice could break a glass, you bet.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. And so that I guess if everything is really vibrating and resonating in our cells and our DNA and, at the cellular level and that kind of level, I guess it would make sense that vibration and frequency can affect the very core of who we are.
It definitely can and does. In fact, it does it. We could not hold our cells together without sound waves. Sound waves actually hold our cells together.
Wow. So do you not go to any rallies or any,
wondering that too.
Do you for that reason?
There's a better way to fight these companies. The way to fight Monsanto is get a personal garden and don't buy any GMO foods and learn what the foods are. Because protesting, what Monsanto usually does is juggle their stocks. When there's a march like that, they just bet against themselves and make a ton of money.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
At this point, we need smarter protesters. The so-called Battle of Seattle, remember when they protested GMO foods?
Yeah, I remember that.
The three companies, Monsanto, AIG Insurance, and Procter & Gamble, made a fortune on that because when they were marching against GMOs, they came out what they called GMO green technology. In other words, it was going to be used to eat up oil slicks and do all these good things. The research actually that they were supporting is GMOs that eat up tanks and human flesh and automobile tires and the enemy's food. That's what that so-called green research was being done on.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Wow.
So like they said in the movie Apocalypse Now, that famous line, you need wings to stay above the bull, etc.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Wow. So now with your words, do you do any mantras, or do you say anything during the day to yourself, or do you, because I'm convinced that, if like a cancer patient had, liver cancer or something, and they were to actually talk to their liver, in the same way that in that book, what is it called? The Secret Life of Plants, where they talk to the plants and the plants react and things. And I would imagine that your actual biology and your liver would respond to your words.
They definitely do. Now, the greatest affirmation I know that I learned from Swami Nitty Gritty was, I am a winner. And I'll tell you a story that happened down there in San Diego. A girlfriend of mine got a call saying that her mother had less than 24 hours to live, and we better get down there if we wanted to see her alive. So we left at 6 o'clock in the morning. We got the call about 9 at night, and we met her relatives flying in from the Midwest, and we all proceeded to the hospital. There was this little 97-year-old, 97-pound woman hooked up with wires, and my girlfriend started crying like, this is inhumane, you've got to unplug her. Well, my attitude is always, don't give up the fight. Life is important. And so I was staring at her thinking that, and she locked eyes with me and stared at me like, who the heck are you? So I realized I was on candid camera, so I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And I thought, what would Swami Nitty Gritty do? So I walked up, I grabbed her little fragile hands in mine, and I said, repeat after me, I am a winner. And she, to the amazement of me as well as the people in the room, yelled out, I am a winner. And she was out of the emergency within an hour, and everybody had to go home. She didn't die.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
So something's happening inside her physiology, right, to that?
Yeah, see, when most people come to see a sick person like that the doctors say is going to die, and they don't really know that. That's a voodoo curse when you really think about it. Most people go into that and say, oh, it's their time to go. We've got to help them along. Nobody gives them the other choice. Now, sometimes it is their time to go, but why give them, let them decide that for themselves rather than it be decided for them. And then they figure, well, they want me to die, I guess I'll go along with the program. Or even it's certain to die because the experts tell me so. Instead, choose your own path and live. Swami Nitty Gritty put it this way, there is a time for us to die, but you can't leave without your permission. And if you don't give permission, you're going to stick around.
Yeah, because if you're if you're sick and in bed like that and you're not able to really be vital and be yourself, and everyone else around you is talking about how you're going to die soon, I guess you wouldn't have the energy to fight that anyway, and you just kind of go along with what they want for you, That's how we get programmed in the first place. Our school systems teach us that people die at this time and that time. And actually, people at one time used to live to 150 or 200 years old. And yet, the scientists, you can look at Wikipedia in any place, they'll say the oldest living person is 125. Well, I studied with a man named Master Chen from Wudang. His teacher was a woman and lived to 130. Alice Walker's great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother lived to 125 or 26. It was a lot common. If you didn't die from cholera or one of those diseases, you could live a lot longer than people live now. Wow, that's just...
Well, you and I, Justin, were talking a lot this week about that very thing, how we give permission to things that we don't even know we're giving permission to.
Right.
And that whole concept is wild to me.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that coming up after the break. We're with Adam Bergstrom, and his website is solarman111.com, and he's the author of Yes, No, Maybe, Chronobiotic Nutrition. So I highly recommend that book, and we'll be right back with the great Adam Bergstrom after this break. As of this recording, we've done about 56 shows so far, I believe, or 57, I think it is now. And this is a website and a project that Kate and I are fully committed to, and it's my life's work. And I've been into health and nutrition and helping people for so many years. And if you at all want to donate to us to help support our work, we would greatly, greatly appreciate that. You can just go to extremehealthradio.com/donate. And a lot of people think that if they donate $1 or $2, that doesn't mean much. But if all you have is $1 or $2, that would be so helpful if you wanted to donate to help keep our website free. We don't want to charge for this work. We don't want to charge for the interviews at all. I know a lot of people are doing that these days, and that's okay. You know, everyone has to make money, but we want to keep things free so that if people really, really need this information and this help, they can access it without having to pay anything. So if you have $1 or $2 or $5 or $10, please go to extremehealthradio.com/donate, and you can read our story on there and donate as little as $1 or as much as you like. And you can even do it on a monthly basis too if you like, but that will help keep it free for people who can't afford to do that, and it will help support our work. We'll use the money to buy equipment to make sure the shows stay really good quality, and to pay all of our bills for the hosting, for the phone lines, for the server costs, for all the equipment we need and the software and all of that. So we really, really want to put out a good show for you so that you can enjoy it and not charge. So if you can spare $1 or $2, we would greatly, greatly appreciate that. So thank you so much for being a part of our work. And if you donate, please let me know. I will thank you personally, and let me know if there's anything I could ever do for you. You can email me, justin@extremehealthradio.com, and my wife and I would love to help you out in any way we possibly can. So thanks for listening and being a part of what we do. And again, just let me know if I can help in any way. And let's get back to the show.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
All right, we're having a good time here with Mr. Adam Bergstrom from SolarMan111.com and soon SolarTiming.com, and we'll put a link to that website on our show page here, which is extremehealthradio.com/116, I believe. And so we've been talking, Adam, recently, my wife and I, about how people really own their diagnosis and they really own the diseases people tell them that they have and all these kinds of things. And what are some tools that you can maybe share or that you do or things like that where people can really start to change their mental and emotional terrain, I should say?
An affirmation is a thought we have on purpose. And most of our thoughts are unconscious. We don't know we're having them, and they program us. Mm-hmm. So a lady showed up at my co-authors of Yes, No, Maybe, our Yes, No, Maybe paperback book, in her driveway with a license plate, and it said lupus. And my co-author said, that's not really a good idea. People get into claiming their disease that way. In fact, many times they go to the doctor for a diagnosis. And every disease is individual. It's specific. It's specific to the person. So you can generalize certain things, but when you claim it like that, it's called the name it and claim it game. And it's not a good idea.
Yeah, because people really do that, don't they? They go to the hospital and the doctor tells them they have something, and then they talk about my cancer or my XYZ disease, and they really do that.
Yes, I have it, like I own it, like this is mine and don't take it away from me.
Yeah. It's almost like a subconscious thing that maybe they've been kind of creating those subconscious grooves their entire life, and so when they get a diagnosis like that, it just kind of sits right in that groove and just fits perfectly with what their subconscious mind is really wanting.
Well, it's well known by brainwashing organizations like Tavistock in Great Britain, that the hardest thing for us to let go of is our pain. That's why in places like New York, they have restaurants called yuppie boxes that are basically designed to make you feel uncomfortable, and people flock to them. Wow. And it's a very strange thing. The pleasure principle, which we should be based on, is really not true. It's more the I can take it principle. So when people work their daily jobs, they're really not looking for pleasure. They say, I like my job. Yes, but do they love their job? And would they spend their last day on earth at their job? Very few people would. But they hypnotize themselves to stick to their job instead of following their dreams and being what they wished to be when they were a child. So most people are in a semi-state of semi-affirmation. An example of what I mean is, say you wished as a child to be at the beach in Hawaii. Then someone said, well, do affirmations. But instead of doing affirmations to be at that beach in Hawaii, you do an affirmation to be a college professor to make the money to go to the beach in Hawaii. Okay. And you never get to the beach. You become a successful college professor and are semi-miserable all your life without really knowing it, because you've been programmed to think, I'm doing a good thing and I'm enjoying myself as a college professor.
Gosh, every second person I feel like out there, or just probably about everybody, right?
Almost everyone I know
is doing this kind of thing where they get locked into maybe some debt or something, and they get into that negative spiral of negative thinking, and this really does have an impact on not only in our biology, but in the kind of world that we can create for ourselves, doesn't it?
Yes, and people do enjoy their pain. It's a fact, and it's unfortunate because once a person reaches self-realization, they realize this is all fun. This life is fun, but it's not realized by people.
So what kinds of things do you do? Do you do affirmations during your meditation, or do you do... how do you kind of create your reality, the kind of life you're living?
I keep meditation separate from affirmations.
Okay.
I prefer to write affirmations. I learned that from a friend of mine named Greg Whiteley, who has Aquarian Lifestyle Research and Divine Spark Productions. And he had an affirmation group, but it did so well, they closed it down because they're making so much money and travel around the world, doing thousands of hours of underwater photography, bought 40 acres of virgin timberland up in Idaho, and travel around the world doing things just on affirmations.
Wow.
As my friend Greg puts it, someone said, do you invest in the stock market? He said, why would I invest with somebody I don't know? I only invest in my friends. The only thing I know about money is I deserve it because I read affirmations for it, and so I get it. I don't have to know anything about finance. And he doesn't. He lives the life of Riley.
I love it. So How do you do that? Do you write, do you have like a notebook that you write a certain amount of things in each day, or how does that look for you?
I'll tell you his method, which is a variation of what the rebirthers used to do. And different techniques work for different people, but this has worked really well for me. The last time I did one of these affirmations, I got a check for $15,000 in the mail, which I almost fell over because it was more than I expected.
Oh, my gosh.
Which, let's take an affirmation like, I am a winner. First, you claim it personally. So I would write 3 times, I, Adam, am a winner. Then I would write 3 times, you, Adam, are a winner. That's second person. Okay. Then I would write 3 times, Adam is a winner, third person. We get programmed in 3 ways. 1, we read in the newspaper that all people that are 6'1" and blonde have problems financially. So then you believe it from the third person. From the second person, your friend or spouse tells you, you're not a winner, and you get programmed that way. And the other way, we say to ourselves, gee, I'm not a winner. So those are 3 ways of getting programmed. Now, in the rebirthers method, they finish with, I, Adam, am a winner. Greg found that didn't quite do it, that you would do it for 5 more times, and you would then muscle test it. I'm sure you've heard of muscle response testing, applied kinesiology, and you would test the muscle to see if you believed it. And that would be a pretty valid test. You would write these affirmations for 7 days and then muscle test and see if it held. If it held, you're probably going to believe it. There's no guarantee, because the ultimate proof of your belief, if I affirm for $100, is the $100 is in my hand. That shows your affirmation worked. Anything else is just positive thinking.
Right.
If your affirmation works, someone will just knock on the door. In fact, that happened to me once. I was in Ojai, and I was there with my girlfriend, and suddenly I realized that in Carpinteria, my rent was due, and I was $50 short of the rent. So when I had gone up to my girlfriend, we met somebody there, and we said hello, and we're going to talk later. I'd never seen the man before. My girlfriend had never seen the man before. We went into her cottage, and I suddenly said to myself, I'm $50 short of the rent. I'm going to let God pay the $50. And my girlfriend says, well, what are you going to do to earn the money, though? Mm-hmm. Nothing. I'm out here in the woods with you in Ojai. What can I do? I said, it's God's responsibility to pay the $50. Well, what if you get kicked out of your mobile home? Well, then it's God's responsibility. It's his $50. 10 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. And it's this man who was a full block or two away in space on this estate. Uh-huh. And my girlfriend opens the door, and he's holding up a $50 bill, and he looks at me and says, this is your $50. And I must admit, even I was flabbergasted. And then he looked at me again, and he said, you do know what this is about, don't you? And I said, I certainly do. And I took the $50, and I paid my rent.
Oh,
Never saw the man again. He told me a story, though. He said he studied with a Zen master at Big Bear, California, and the master gave him a koan. He went and meditated on the koan, and he left his body. So he thought that would be the answer. He went back to the master, and when the master said, what is the answer to the koan? He left his body. The master said, get back in your body. That's not the answer. He told me that mysterious story, and that's the last time I saw him.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then you also had that experience with the $15,000 as well.
Yeah, that's right. And another time, I was going to go to massage school in Texas, and my friend Greg Whiteley was going to give me some money to make a down payment and go to massage school. And I said, if this stuff really works, the school is $2,100. I need $300 to open a bank account and $100 extra. So if I do sessions, if a check bounces, I'm saved. Mm-hmm. Well, even my friend Greg was a little peeved at me. Well, I went home. There was an envelope that had come to me. I opened it up, and it was a check for $2,500, the exact amount I needed. So, of course, I called Greg up. It was one of his houses I was staying in, and said, well, guess I'm going to massage school. And I did.
Wow.
Now, in all those instances, are those things that you actually put out there, or did you just think them in your head, or did you speak it aloud, or how did that come about?
It's funny. What Swami Nitty Gritty said, the way to have your affirmation work is to don't think it, but just say it without thinking it. And so really, when I confronted my friend Greg about that, I was being a bit of a butthole by telling him that, if this stuff really works, I'll get the $2,500. So it all came out automatically. I laid out my $2,100, the $300 for this and the $100 for that. And I went back to his other house, which was about a quarter of a mile away. Walked in the door. There was the money. It had just materialized that fast.
Wow,
my goodness.
That's just amazing. And I think this stuff, there's a lot of people with stories like this. So interesting. So what are some of the things you do on a daily basis in terms of, not in terms of really nutrition and diet and things? What are some things that you do on a mental level like this, emotional level, every day? You said you do your affirmations and you do meditation, right?
Yes, I do. Now, the closest thing to the Akashic Records is the internet these days. So I spend a lot of times on that. I used to love to hang out in libraries. Mm-hmm. I also love to hang out at the beach, so this is a nice place to be. Mm-hmm. I do make it down to the world's safest beach down there in Carpinteria from time to time and go in the water.
It's not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
I do spend a lot of time researching, though. I do love the computer, and it's quite an improvement over going to libraries and have to physically go to where the books are. Uh-huh. Especially, there's a lot of books. I think I was telling you one time that they hide these books so that you will get the paradigm that is out there. But if you really know how to get around them and get to these books, you can get to some amazing books on the internet. Books from the 1800s where they knew more about health than they do today, 100 or 150 years ago. They knew more about cancer and were curated on a regular basis than we do today.
Yeah, in books like that, it makes sense that they would kind of...
push them to the back.
Yeah, it makes sense they wouldn't really promote those books, right?
It costs mainline medicine. I don't call it mainstream. I call it mainline medicine because we inject it like a drug. It costs them money. So they want to keep that in the background. That's why I used to wonder, why don't they criticize these more? Except for Quackwatch, you don't find them criticizing.
Right.
Because they want people to be confused. And they deliberately put out some information out there that is the wrong information and fake laboratory tests so people will be misled. Then when the natural product doesn't work, they say, see, we told you so. It doesn't work.
Right. And
So
do you use, or in fact, you just mentioned a second ago, Quackwatch. Do you know anything about that website? It's I suspect it's kind of owned and operated by the government or someone out there that's...
It is. All they do is bash natural methods, but they don't bash the pharmaceutical methods, which are even worse.
Right.
You know, a lot of natural methods can get you in trouble. An example is people abuse natural things. Like colloidal silver is as good as an antibiotic. But just like an antibiotic, would you take penicillin every day? No. Or kombucha, would you take it every day? No. But if you have an infection or an inflammation or something like that, an infection particularly, there's nothing better than colloidal silver.
Right. Wow.
That's interesting.
These foods are very good. They're better than the antibiotics, which of course now we've got ourselves in trouble with the antibiotics by using them so liberally, you know, for our cattle, our chicken and everything. We're having a resistance to them.
Right. Kate, you were going to say something?
Oh, no, I just thought it was funny that when we had Leonard Caldwell on the other day, I Googled him just later on, and the first site he came up on was the Quackwatch. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So clearly there is something going on with that whole thing.
Yeah, they're really like all the cutting edge guys are on that Quackwatch, you know, it's...
Yeah. They're the same type of people that Michael Sherman, who writes for Scientific American, and you've probably heard of the Amazing Randy. The magician that goes around exposing metaphysics. And yes, he's exposed metaphysics. There are a lot of counterfeit spiritual people out there, but he never investigated Swami Nitty Gritty, who pulled off miracles on a daily basis. And I was around to see a lot of those too.
Wow.
I got one of those people kicked off a radio show one time because I told him I approved of his work in exposing the bogus ones, but you be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, he started a diatribe against me, and finally the host said, if you say one more word to this guest, I'm going to kick you off my show. well, he did, and the radio announcer said, don't let the doorknob hit you where the bulldog bit you. You're off this show.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh, I love it.
That's so funny. We were with Adam Bergstrom. His website is solarman111.com. Make sure to check out his website, follow him on Facebook and all that good stuff. And we'll be right back with Adam after this break. If you're like me, chances are you've tried lots of different whey protein powders and different protein powders on the market. The two I like are Sun Warrior Protein and One World Whey. One is vegan and one is not, but One World Whey, I love it. It's 100% raw and grass-fed, coming from Amish farmers with healthy cows. It's an incredible product. It's got about 25 grams of protein with each scoop, which is really, really high. It increases the glutathione levels in your body. It helps to eliminate heavy metals and toxins out of your body, as well as radioactive fallout from chemtrails. And it helps to decrease inflammation in the intestines, which helps with having healthy bowel movements. It builds lean muscle, and it's great for your skin and anti-aging. It increases your energy levels. It's really, really a great product. And it's not just for building muscle. It has so many benefits. And you can learn more about all the benefits of this incredible product at extremehealthradio.com/whey. Whey, Whey, and it's put together by Synergistic Nutrition, and One World Whey is the product name. I highly recommend checking it out. If you are interested in buying it, please consider doing it through us. We'll get a little commission, and you will see what I'm talking about. You're going to be hooked and addicted to this stuff. So consider this product as part of your daily protocol. Maybe put it in your smoothies, and just, it's really, really a great product. So thanks for listening, and let's get back to this interview.
All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
And here we are with Adam Bergstrom.
Always a fun time.
Always a fun time. Really, really interesting. We love Adam, and his website, if you're interested, is solarman111.com. And he's also got another one that he's working on launching called solartiming.com with lots of great stuff on there. And so that'll be fun to see when it comes out. And let's see, Kate, I think during the break you were talking about...
Yeah, I have some I want to run by Mr. Bergstrom.
Yeah.
Here's a question, Adam. This is an interesting situation. I was wondering your take on this. You've probably heard things like this before. But I know someone who was involved in doing a session with an energetic healer lately for a specific problem with a specific organ. And right before that session, this person's actual organ that they'd been having problems with was acting up so much like they hadn't had ever. And then they had this session with the person, and, they were doing some healing and things like that. I was thinking about it today. Do you think that is the exact kind of thing, like how Justin and I have read and kind of studied about what goes on with the plants, how before a person cuts a plant, the plant kind of knows and reacts. Do you think that the body and that organ specifically knew that it was going to be going through some healing, so it was reacting? Can you shed some light on what you think's going on with that stuff?
Every cell has consciousness, and so does every atom. Mm-hmm. So yes, when a disease is about to be expelled from the body, almost like an exorcism, the organ will often protest because it wishes to hang on to it. Now, that's the subconscious mind, but the subconscious mind isn't just located in our brains, it's located in space. Every time you identify with your exhalation, you're astral projecting. Only because we're so used to being inside our body, we don't pay attention when we're outside our body. To astral project, as soon as you out-breath, you're everywhere. When you in-breath, you're inside yourself again.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That's why slowing down the breath, when yogis slow down their breath, they're in the pause state after the exhalation for as much as 15 minutes. In fact, to be a Swami, you must hold your breath for 15 minutes. If not, the person's not a Swami. They may call themselves that. It's a common title nowadays, but it's not a legitimate title unless you can do that.
But they couldn't hold their breath for that long at one time, could they, or could they?
Some of them are actually born that way. In fact, one time, Swami Nitty Gritty told us that to be a Swami, you have to stay in Delta, which is the breathless state, for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. To be a Paramahansa, you need to stay in that state for an hour. To be a Siddha, you need to be in that state for 2 hours. To be an ascended master, you have to be in that state for 12 hours. To be a manifest descended master, you have to be in that state for 24 hours a day, which basically you're not breathing in the same way that most people breathe.
So it really does have a lot to do with your breath, doesn't it? This whole thing, I guess, healing and disease and everything, right?
If Swami Nitty Gritty was correct, one atom of oxygen could last a person for 40 years.
One atom of oxygen for 40 years. Wow. So
I can't even imagine what that means.
Yeah, what does that mean, I wonder?
It would be necessary for space travel because oxygen is very rare in outer space.
Wow, so a second ago you were talking about how like the organ would hold on to a disease. Why do you think our body would do that? It seems kind of strange that...
Because we love our pain?
Yeah, maybe it's the subconscious thing going on that the organ would want to hold on to a like the liver might want to hold on to a gallstone, or a gallbladder hold on to a gallstone, or cancer or something?
Kate got it right. We hang on to our pain. That's why many people, if they have a trauma, they get in an automobile accident instead of going to a reflexologist, so they can cry and let go of the emotion. Because most people are not accustomed. They think their problem is too trivial. Well, I'm broke, and my wife left me, and that's not a good excuse for me to really have a breakdown here. So then they go out and wreck the car right after they break up, and then they have a good cry because they're in pain. Physical pain. They do not know they're in emotional pain, and they would rather experience the physical pain than the emotional, even to the fact of losing a leg or an arm or an organ or whatever. So it's very strange. Your conscious mind, of course, would never arrange an accident like that, but your unconscious mind can be so desperate to have a release and a resolving that it will actually put people through that. And I see it all the time. I've experienced it myself.
Are some people more prone to needing to release that kind of stuff? Because I know in my life, I don't really have a need, I don't feel like I do, at least, a need to release lots of emotion. But I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm stuffing it and I don't know it. Or are some people needing to release emotion more than others, do you think?
Yes. Now, the one way to tell that is to do a muscle test. And like you say, my job is okay. And then do a muscle test. And if the muscle holds, it is. Or I like the car I have. And then you do a muscle test. So you can check anything in your life because the body doesn't lie.
Wow. So with muscle testing, can people do that on their own, or?
Yes, there's opponens pollicis longus is a muscle that holds the index finger the pinky to the thumb, and they can pull on that finger and tell. Or the method I found more accurate, I would ask questions by squeezing a bathroom scale. There's enough room to reach under it, put my thumb on top, and squeeze it, and then determine what's good or bad. The difference is usually about 1 pound, except one time when I was asked if I should meet this master, I got a 10-pound increase in my strength.
Really?
It's kind of supernatural.
Just by doing that?
Yes, just by squeezing the scale. So I would ask myself questions that way when someone wasn't around to muscle test me. I found it more accurate than I never got the pulling the thumb quite well. And remember, muscle response testing is really not going to test if a vitamin is good for your health. It's going to tell if it's good for your highest health. People get your highest good. People get mixed up about that. So if you think a vitamin is good for you, the test will show it's good, but it may be good for you to get sick with it. So people have to be careful that it's a psychological thing. Most people don't know that the police uses applied kinesiology to weaken people, to disarm them when they pull a knife on them, or to keep them in a weakened state when they interview them. They're well versed on on those techniques of muscle response testing, and it's called control techniques by both the military and the police.
Wow! So with people and their emotional issues and things, because a lot of people have that these days. A lot of people are just having these stored emotions, maybe depression or anger, driving, or any of these types of things. When something happens to people, I wonder how much of that is caused by their subconscious mind, like you were talking about earlier, where a person has a car crash or something, or I wonder if, a disease diagnosis, or I wonder if some of that stuff is a subconscious crying out to release emotions that otherwise would never have been released.
99% of it is the subconscious mind doing that. 1% will happen when a person's wife, say, leaves them and they say, I'm going to ram the car through the house because I'm aggravated. Now, that's conscious, and it's not too smart. But the subconscious is just as dumb. It does those type of things by getting people in accidents. And if it's a trauma with a male, it happens on the left side. If it's a trauma with a female, it happens on the right side. So I've noticed when celebrities have their spouse dump them, they have an accident right after often, and it happens with the side of the body that matches the spouse is involved. Over and over, I see it on the news. I read body language by watching TV shows sometimes, the interview shows, when the person talks about their ex-wife or whoever, and you learn a lot.
Yeah, I recently watched, we took a little vacation to Palm Springs, and I recently watched this whole long interview with that girl in Italy. Remember her, Kate, who was convicted of killing her roommate or something?
Amanda Knox, wasn't it?
Amanda Knox, yeah. And I was thinking about you, Adam, during that time because I know that you were, do that kind of thing. And I was trying to look for her little body, cues, blinking eyes or whatever. And but that's something that really does reveal a lot about people, doesn't it?
Yes. Now, there's two types of cues. One is when you see them wince and it goes to one side, it's a trauma. So it doesn't tell that they're lying. It tells that they're in trauma over the question, which could be because they're falsely accused. Now, the way you tell if they're lying is by which way the eyes go at the time they're telling the story. That's part of neurolinguistic programming, and it pretty well works for lying. We tend to look to the left when we experience something directly and look to the right when we make something up. So if I ask you to visualize a cow that you've seen in your life, you'll tend to look upwards and to the left. If I tell you visualize a purple cow with earrings, which you've never seen before, then you will tend to look to the right. So obviously, if a person is going to lie about something or make something up, and I've seen politicians do that. I saw one when he talked about what we were doing with the military overseas, he would keep looking to the right for his answer, so he was making it up. Other things were coming from his experience. He would look to the left. He happened to be a very easy president to read at the time. Some of them are poker faces, harder to read, but he was easy.
Wow,
there's so much that goes into
There's so much that's going on in the world. It's I feel like the reality of it is that 99% of the actual reality is things that we can't see or hear. It's happening at a much deeper level, and we just get to play around on this physical level with different foods and meditation or working out or anything like that. I feel like the real stuff is all the stuff that we can't see or hear.
And above the level of physicality or precipitation, we have the electrical level, sometimes called the second chakra. We have the magnetic level, called the third chakra. We have the fourth chakra, or the barometric pressure, and we have the sonic field, which is the fifth level master, or the fifth chakra. And then we have 3 levels above that don't impinge usually, because the first 5 chakras are indicated by the 5 fingers of your hand. And in reflexology, they used to call that zone therapy, indicating 5 zones on each side, or the 5 chakras in crosswise relationship. We usually think of them as going upward, and they do, but they also go crosswise and front to back as well, and inside from the DNA level on outward to the skin.
Wow, so it works at the core and then kind of works its way out.
Yes, and basically the first 5 chakras are experiential. You can experience them through the senses. So the first one is going to be your sense of smell. The second one, your sense of taste. The third one, your sense of sight. The fourth one, your sense of touch. And the fifth one, your sense of sound or hearing. If you look at your hand and you clench your thumb, which is the sonic level, the sound level, you'll notice it forms an ear. And indeed, it is an ear.
Wow, that's so interesting.
I'm just doing that right now.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? You see that ear right there?
Very interesting.
And if you look at zone therapy, that's the sound level. They call it the sonic level, or the akashic level, or the ether level. Basically, it's sonic frequencies of very subtle sound. Acoustics occurs when you get into the oxygenated level, which is the index finger.
Interesting. So is this what's going on with, do you think, with like the placebo effect? Doesn't it account for 30% of healing?
99%.
Yeah.
99.
The AMA admits to, because they can't hide it, to 33%. The Meningers during the Second World War had it up as high as 66, but really it's 99% when you really get to it. You know, a friend of mine named Dolph was up repairing my mobile home when I lived in Carpinteria, and I was down underneath the roof with Swami Nitty Gritty, and he said, if Dolph didn't know the word roof, he'd fall down and be right here talking with us now instead of up there. So obviously our knowledge of our words is our greatest power and also our greatest limitation, because we use them to box ourselves in. Like the saying goes, a God defined is a God confined.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard, a lot of people like Jim Rohn. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, and he's a kind of a success guy. And I've heard people like him talk about how when they meet someone, they can tell within, the first 30 seconds of talking with someone, they could know how much money is in their bank account because of the words they use and the self-deprecating language that comes out. And it really does affect our lives much more deeply than I think we ever even imagine.
They have done a test on the average Joe and Jane and found that they could guess their salary within $1,000 or so on a regular basis. So yes, the words and the appearance both show it.
Yeah.
The body language is very important. In fact, you'll see a person with money will spread themselves out. They'll go, instead of upways, they'll put their arms to the side. So if they sit between two people, they're more likely to put their arms around both of them or around the seat behind them. Wow. And right away, you know that person's going to actually attract more money into their life by expanding their personality.
Wow.
Yeah.
The person going up is more aspirational, but they're usually like a tall person or a person reaching up will be more aspirational to psychological things, spiritual things like that. And the person who makes themselves smaller, you'll come to visit them and they'll sit on their couch and they'll cross their legs and they'll hunch down and they make themselves as small as possible. They're going to keep money away like the magnet reversed polarity where it pushes it away.
Wow. So that whole idea of body language, when you see them, if they're open and that kind of thing, they're typically going to be attracting wealth and I guess people and everything else, right? Not just money, right?
And the words say it too. You know, I had a mysterious fever and I finally tracked it down. I was saying a saying that I got from a comedian. When I would do something which I would judge as stupid, I would say, I'll be okay when the fever breaks. Well, I had this low-grade fever for years and years, and finally I realized I'll be okay when the fever breaks. And so I was judging myself as not okay and giving myself a fever.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Now that's a minor thing, but I've seen people give themselves brain tumors with their own mouth too, by saying things. You know, you hear people saying, well, here's a common one. A friend of mine said, I'm tired all the time. Can you work on me? I said, sure. And then when I'm talking to him, he turns around to his kids. I'm sick and tired of you kids making all that noise back there. Will you be quiet? I pointed out to him, there it is. You just name it and claim it. You're claiming it right there.
Yeah.
Another man came in to the health food store I managed when I was in Carpinteria and said, I have a purple tongue. Can you tell me what the problem is? And I asked, did you check your acid alkalinity? Or did they check that? No, they didn't do anything like that. He said, because this is really bad. I'm so down in the mouth. And I said, you just named your problem. And as humorous as it sounds, because that was a minor thing, just a purple mouth, many people, when they say things like, oh, that's to die for, or I'd give my left you-know-what for that, et cetera, all these expressions we have, that we basically bury ourselves in the ground with our own mouth.
Wow, that's interesting. That's so interesting.
That is interesting because I've never put that all together, that correlation, because you know how I've always joked about, like, I think I'm angry in my liver.
Yeah.
And my liver area is where I've had all these issues. That is fascinating.
Wow. Yeah, that's...
Now, one good thing is to just rant and rave. Do what Swami Nitty Gritty calls tantrum yoga. Just go lock yourself in a room and start screaming and let it all hang out.
And that does
You can
release...
do that with your car windows rolled down and scream when you're bugged with the traffic and things like that. Let it out.
That does seem the most realistic way to actually deal with things, because people just stuff, and that's what starts to be the problem. So
Yeah.
I think we're all trying to be non-barbaric in our minds, but isn't that the way we're all wired, to just get it out and move on?
Get it out and move on, right? Yeah.
Yep. And of course, experts say, oh, don't do that because it'll make you more angry.
Right.
No, if you have a true body response, you won't, because you'll get it out and you won't have the need. You may get more angry, but you'll not use it inappropriately. Most people bottle it up, and when it does come, they end up doing harm. They wreck their car, they punch someone in the mouth, or they do something inappropriate.
Yeah.
The person who knows that anger is a natural part of living, it's not a sin or a crime or a psychological no-no. It's something that we need to release. Mm-hmm. Anger, they call it a rage to live. They call it courage.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
A martial art has controlled rage or courage. He uses it and focuses it like a laser instead of exploding it all over like a bomb.
Interesting.
You're absolutely
Golly.
right.
Oh, Adam,
Wow.
where does the time go? It's already an hour. I feel like
I already can't wait for the next month.
Looking forward to it.
We are too, always.
So are you working on anything? I know you got the solar timing working, or you're working on, right? solartiming.com?
It was supposed to be ready by this show, but we're behind, and I hope it's going to be ready by next month. We've got a color recycling, where you'll be able to look at it and see yourself, or see the colors getting recycled through black, through gray, through brown, through red, through orange, through yellow, through green, through blue, through indigo, through violet, and through white. And we just recycled your entire audience and us too.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Only you'll see the actual colors rather than the words. The words will work too, by the way, without even visualizing the colors, because there's a place that joins the colors to the words in the brain. So either way, you win.
Oh, that's amazing.
I am a winner.
And so if people want to visit Adam on his website, solarman111.com, and he offers consultations on there as well if you'd like to talk with him via Skype and things and work with him, and really great stuff. Thanks, Adam, so much for being on again.
And thanks for all you both do.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Adam Bergstrom.
That's what I was just going to say. We had the same brain. I was going to say, so, Mr. Adam Bergstrom.
Mr. Adam Bergstrom.
But you beat me.
I beat you. Well, you beat me to the intro today, so.
Did you like that?
I did.
I didn't know where I was going with it, so I'm glad you took over. But I always know how you're going to start it.
So funny, huh?
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me try.
Adam was great, wasn't he?
Adam's always great.
Yeah, I felt like the connection was really good. We had a good connection with him, and
that was a great connection.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that he was talking about was just blows your mind, doesn't it?
I feel like I could talk to Adam for a day and still not even touch the surface.
Yeah.
Scratch the surface of what's going on in his brain.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting what he was saying about how our words change our biology and how our cells actually react to our thoughts and to our words. Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting how that happens, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of frightening in a way, though, because you realize how your words are everything, really.
Right.
On so many levels.
Yeah, because what good is it really to be eating a good diet, but then just living in negativity land, you know?
Yeah, negativity land is not a good place to live.
It's not good.
You realize how many people do that, though. I mean, probably if I talk to 10 people a day, which I do at the salon, probably 8 out of them are just the whole time complaining and just upset, and everything's the victim. You know, I'm always the victim of this has happened to me. And it's exhausting to listen to, let alone I can't imagine being in their head. I just feel like they're all going to get sick. And gosh, if we don't change these things about ourselves, they're just dragging us down. The world's just not going to be in good shape.
Yeah, I feel like we're just unknowingly living out a pre-programmed reality that was given to us by other people who were programmed. And as a result, we're living out their wishes for our lives.
Yeah, we kind of are.
And we don't even know it.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that they did that to us. And we just blindly walk through life, not realizing that every negative subconscious thought we have has been programmed and been put there by someone who was unconscious and didn't know that they were doing that. And that subconscious thought process that we have is, or I should say, are is the script that our cells use to function.
Gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so our cells just take orders from our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And if our subconscious thoughts are just negativity, depression, low level thoughts, then our cells just respond to that.
Right.
And become weak and don't function as they should.
Well, and same with the sickness part. If you start believing you're going to get sick or telling yourself you're sick, or I believe people can really grow those diseases in their body just from that kind of thought too. So
right.
The whole thing is just powerful. Either way, it's powerful, whether you're using it to affirm or
be negative.
Or be negative.
Do you think that it matters? How much do you think food matters?
Well, I don't know. I still believe it matters. I used to think it was like 100% or 90% probably.
Uh-huh.
But now I'm just not so sure anymore. Like,
right.
It's kind of like if you're in a healthy place with a lot of, like, Adam Bergstrom's whole thing too is like not necessarily what you do and don't eat, it's when you eat it.
Uh-huh. Right.
So I'm starting to think that if you're in a healthy place, your body should be able to handle most foods that are, not created by man, kind of thing.
Right.
But it's just that, it's the way in which we consume them. So I do think it matters, but I do think I'm starting to believe that the mental part of it is probably just as, if not more important.
I know.
If you're in a good, healthy place mentally and physically, I think food isn't going to be such a big deal.
I know. Isn't that wild? All this learning and all this understanding of enzymes and hydrochloric acid and minerals and supplements and superfoods and all this stuff only to come to the realization that none of it really matters.
Right?
It's like,
I know.
It's interesting. When I was listening to David Wolf once, I remember he said something. I mean, here's the king of superfoods, right?
Right.
Mr. Herbal Tea and Mr.
Avocado.
Mr. Avocado. And Mr. Cacao and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he said once that food accounts for about 20% of your health.
You probably thought he was crazy.
Yeah, and I just thought, that does not make any sense. Food is everything. And, Jack LaLanne used to say, was Jack LaLanne? I think it was Jack LaLanne, yeah. He would say that nutrition or diet nutrition is queen and exercise is king. And I used to always think, it's the other way around. But now I'm starting to think that, both of those are very important, but I mean, what do you do with a guy that sits there and chews his food for 50 times per bite? He's eating a gluten pizza. He's sitting there in total gratitude.
Yeah.
Just completely aware of what he's doing. And versus a guy who's rushing around in a car eating goji berries and chocolate, stressed out while he's driving.
Right, to get to that meeting or whatever.
Yeah, to get to the meeting that he doesn't really want to go to. I mean, it's almost kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
It is interesting. And I don't know if there's ever any way to really make a study or a case for that to show the exact percentage of that, but it does seem to be very true.
What's interesting though too is as you progress and as you get cleaner and cleaner and as you progress down the dietary path and feeding yourself right, I think that brings about other things in life that support that. So,
right.
It's not possible to grow in every area of your life, but also just be eating genetically modified food.
Right.
I think that all kind of goes together.
Right.
And I think the more you grow in every area of your life, the more you will just want to eat that kind of good food, that high vibration food.
Yeah, I think naturally you change and your cravings become different. The way you respect your body becomes different. So therefore, you're not going to want to shove crap in your face, Right.
I mean, look at your change. I mean, you're craving juice these days.
I know.
Remember
I've hardly
that?
gone one day without a juice. I'm craving all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, you're eating. What are you eating? You're eating all kinds of stuff that you never would have thought you.
No.
Apricot kernels every day.
Apricot kernels, goji berries and raw chocolate, tons of fresh fruits and veggies, mostly proteins.
Lots of supplements.
Supplements up the wazoo. I cut out so much stuff in the last 5 years of the gluten, the pasta, the cheese, the milk, the dairy, any of that stuff. Like, I have come a long way.
Yeah, it's quite a journey, and it's pretty fun, isn't it?
I'm not done, my friends.
It's a lifelong journey, isn't it?
It is, and it's exciting. I'm not saying I don't even know where I'll be in 5 years from now, but I might be adding things in. I might be taking more things out. I have no clue, but it's pretty exciting to see how you start feeling. And it's just really neat.
It's not too shabby. And it's a fun journey too, because you start to feel better. And, as long as you're not dealing with a chronic degenerative disease like cancer or something, it's always a process of just trying to feel better and having more energy and having more focus and intention in your life. And nothing but good can come out of that,
Right. I think for me too, it's just keeping positive when I'm still working through the not so good. I still have days where my digestion's just crap, and I've done everything right. And I'm like, why am I going through another cycle of this? But it's not losing hope. I just really need to stay positive during those times because, things will bring you down. People's words, like, if I say something like, oh, I'm just not feeling so good today. And people will respond with like, well, you eat better than anyone I know. Like, how's that possible? And I'm like, well, I'm still obviously not in a place where I'm 100% healed. I wouldn't be feeling like that.
Right.
So I just respond and kind of laugh, but I'm like, oh man, I don't want those negative words, as Adam was saying, to bring me back to a place where I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe that's why, maybe I'm not feeling good because I have too much juice, or, it's like you start questioning that, but that's part of the process too. So
yeah, it's all part of learning.
You do start feeling better though. And you just keep going even on days that you don't feel so great when you're doing everything you should. So
overall, you feel so much better.
So much better.
Yeah. Lighter, cleaner, happier.
Oh, way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
pretty
just
cool.
Amazing. Adam Bergstrom. So check out his other interviews that we've done with him. I think this is the third or fourth one.
Yeah, I think third.
And we've done a lot of interviews with Adam Bergstrom. So check those out. Go onto the guest list page and you can click and get all of his interviews and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to encourage you too, if you can, if there's anything, I was going to say if there's anything we could do for you, but if you could, let's see, what should we ask? If you could maybe perhaps follow us on Facebook, if you haven't liked us on Facebook yet, and share our Facebook status updates with your friends, that would be a huge deal because we're trying to gain our following on Facebook and trying to, let other people know about our show and, give people hope. That there is natural healing options. There are natural healing options out there.
Yes.
And we just want everyone to know that these things exist. So if you could follow us on Facebook and then share our status updates as often as you can, that would be great.
We would be so grateful. That's why we're here. The emails we're getting just totally affirm that. The ones that are just like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. I had no idea that this existed, or
it's
you've
amazing.
Changed lives, and that's what we're here for, just to get the word out to as many people of what's out there with all these amazing guests. I mean, we are drawing from some of the best in the world,
Yeah, it's so good.
It's out there and it's ready to be heard. So please spread the word. That would help us out greatly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for listening. And hopefully you can always check again with Adam Bergstrom on solarman111.com to get a consultation with him if you're at all intrigued with his information, which if you listen to his show, I'm sure you are.
How could you not be?
Yeah.
I know.
Fascinating guy. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to Extreme Health Radio.